already live. All right. So here we go. So thank you all for joining. All right. Hi, guys. Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 tips in crafting your messaging. Now, why is that so important? Believe it or not, your messaging comes from your brand. And my experience has been that most entrepreneurs and authors, quite honestly, people in all industries, really aren't clear on their brand. They really aren't. And one piece that's very, very important when you are updating or up leveling your brand is to find your differentiator. How are you different and how are you unique? It's essential, especially today. You know, for years, I thought that once you have your brand and you really are very clear as to who you are and what you do and who you serve and the results you get, that you don't have any competition. Well, I've changed that slightly because in today's world, with everyone online, on social media platforms, virtual summits, there's become so much noise out there. And so that's really the competition. The competition is the noise. And today, more than ever, you have got to be so clear and succinct on what your brand is. Now, why is that? Why do I even bring up the brand? Is because once you are clear on your brand, and you know your uniqueness and your what I call your differentiators, then you can start crafting the messaging. But before you know what your brand is, how do you know the messaging to craft to market who you are, to market your services? You really don't. And I was talking to someone who is very, very successful. And she's been doing this for a long time in her craft, in her industry. And things were amazing, going amazingly well right before the pandemic. And then in the last year and a half, things have changed. And she's not seeing the results and the new clients that she has seen before. Now, what has changed? What has changed? She's still the same. She gets incredible results for her clients. Her process is outstanding. Um, and so it has to be the beginning part because the results and the process, that's very clear and excellent. But you're not going to get the results for someone and you're not going to be able to use that process unless that first part is done, right? That first part is the messaging that captures that potential client in a sea of noise. And so, where maybe at one time you could get away with it, you can't get away with it anymore. Not really. So the 3 tips that I'm going to share with you, and of course I can't do a deep dive in the time that we have. And if you want to do a deep dive, then just put it in the chat. You can just put deep dive, and we'll connect with you. My team will connect with you, and we'll set up a time to chat. All right. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you like what you're hearing and what you're learning. All right. So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a creative, a healer, a book author, a visionary, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. What matters is that you stand out. What matters is that you're different and your message in a few words, concise words and consistent, says how you're different. You know, I just watched recently, or I may have read something about Jack Daniels and the liquor company, and they basically crafted a message where they told the story of how they made their liquor. Now, it's the same process that all the other brands use, but they took their expertise and they used it as a message to attach to their brand. I thought that was brilliant, and they became number one. So in terms of of that industry, of the alcohol industry. And I don't know if it's bourbon. Is it bourbon? Is Jack Daniel's bourbon? I don't know my drinks, but whatever that is, they shared the process. That's what you want to do. They were concise. They told the story, and the story is the message, right? The story is the message. So what's the story? What's the message? And so, for example, when someone works with me, um, when I help someone write a book and I do other things, I'm going to come back to that. It's really what I do is I am someone who I can identify someone's genius zone. That's really what I do. What does that even mean? That means that I'm able to take their expertise, help them at least 10 times that impact, increase the impact and increase their income. Now, why is that so important? And how can I say I can do that? Because here are the differentiators. I'm a brander. The Wall Street Journal called me a marketing maven, which I love. I've been in a lot of media, and my clients have been. So I used to do PR, and I'm a writer. So when someone contacts me, I've got to make sure that they're not going to contact me just to write a book necessarily, because all of the noise out there of everyone writing a book, and there's so much more that I do, right? So I have to be very, very clear in terms of what my brand is, what the results I get from my clients. I have my own process, and then I have to enroll them by how I'm unique, because otherwise the competition, which is really the noise out there, is going to win out. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to be able to add in that messaging. What are some of your hobbies? Now, I've had clients who are just an unbelievable in gardening. And so what's so cool about that is that they've taken their gardening hobby in terms of nature and growth and the seasons, the cycle, and they've used that in their business. I mean, it's brilliant. And that's part of their uniqueness. That's part of their differentiation. For those of you who are starting a second career or a third career, or you're tweaking your existing career, what career were you in before? So there's a client right now who used to be a lawyer and is now into coaching. But what's so great, she wasn't using that uniqueness in terms of her law. And so Instagram is having a fun time with, I don't know exactly what it's doing, but maybe one of my team members can come and check it out. So she wasn't using anything to do with that legal piece. Now, why is that so important? Because in business, there's so many avenues and there's so many legal spaces that we have to be aware of, right? And so she's able to now bring that law experience. Even though she doesn't do law, she still knows the law. She says that she, is not giving legal consultations, but generally speaking. So it has worked beautifully for her. And that is all part of who she is and her brand and her messaging. That's what it says. So the first step is to make it clear and concise. And before, however, you get to that spot, you have to be able to know who you are, just everything that we chatted before. And you want to make it easy to understand. You want to be able to give your message that you want to be able to say your message and it's easy to understand. Now, here's how you check that out. This is a really important step that a lot of people don't take the time to do. And that is, if you know of a teen that's 15 or 16, run the message past them and see what they say. Just see if they understand it. Now, some things they won't, but many things they will. What's their understanding of that? And then have an ideal client or a really good friend who has business sense and run it past them. And how do they interpret that? That's what you want to know, because just because you think it's that message that's going to be able to pull, not necessarily. Hi, Lon Levin. God, I haven't seen you for ages. Oh, nice to have you join. So you want to be able to do that. Okay. You also want to be able to grab their attention. right off the bat. And it's just, you've got to be captivating. And it's the same thing when you're giving a speech, right? You don't start a speech with, hi, how are you? Nice, so great to be here. You don't do that. You start, boom. You start with a captivating speech because you want them to follow you. You want to capture their attention. Okay. And the same thing you want to be able to do um, with your marketing. And so you've got to be able to come up with a captivating title, for example. All right. Now there's a lot of AI out there that you can put some names in there, some titles, and they'll actually give you the percent of how good that is, how captivating that is. And anything above 50% is a go. 60% is better, but 50% is a go. Anything below 50% on that AI platform, you don't want to do. And sometimes you just change a word around and then see what that rating is. Okay, so there's no reason now to not to have an amazing headline. In addition to that, there are books out that have these great headlines, starters for you that you can also use. So that is basically what you want to do. And in your messaging, you always want to stay on brand. I did this. I started to get off brand this morning when I was working with my marketing gal, and who I've worked with. Oh my gosh, Leah, for 12, 13 years. And she does all my live events, and she lets me walk through and talk through things, and then she siphons it out, and then she makes it all pretty. But it's interesting because I'm doing a master class in September on content to cash. And I was getting all excited about it. And then she goes, Ruth, you've got to stay on brand. And she was right. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Because in my mind, I was so excited about doing it that I thought I was on brand, but I wasn't. And so we had to circle back. And she asked me all these questions, and she stayed with me, man. She stayed with me. And then we were able to slightly tweak the messaging that kept me on brand. Okay. Hi, Jenny. Your daughter's adorable, by the way. All right. You want to make sure that your message is consistent, and your messaging needs to be consistent on all platforms. When you introduce yourself at a networking event, when you introduce yourself at a dinner table, on your website, social media, emails, your book, all content, it's got to be consistent. And it's not like, oh man, what am I going to say today in social media? What's the message today? You've got your main heart and soul messages for your industry that you use. Reinforcement, reinforcement, reinforcement. Okay, now this is what I have my clients do. So step one, we've already done the mental part. Now I want you to literally take a step forward. And in this step forward, what does your audience need? What do they want? What is their pain point? You've heard of what their pain point is. You've heard that so many times. You've heard what keeps them up at night. But do you really know? Do you really know? And what do they need? What do they want? And I have to tell you, I've been doing this for quite a while. And what a client wants is not necessarily what they need. However, you're going to give them what they want, and you're going to give them what they need, because that is what brings in the results. Because you're the expert, you're the thought leader, you know your craft, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what the industry is. And so you want to try different words and different phrases. Again, this is where AI comes in handy. Go ahead and write a couple of phrases out in terms of, you think you know who your audience is. You write that in there. And you give them, approximate age, and if it's female or male or whatever it might be, and then some of their pain points. And then you put in a few more things, and then you have AI come up. You might say, write a blog post, write an outline, but here's the deal. I wouldn't use everything. I wouldn't use what AI wrote verbatim, because I think down the road there's going to be some real legal issues, because everything that AI uses is already out there. It's already out there. There's copyright material that it just pulls. It's, it's it's fair game. And so using AI, my suggestion would be to get you going, to have you start thinking. Maybe you use a sentence or 2 sentences or 3 sentences, and mix it up a little bit and make it your own, because AI doesn't have a heart. AI doesn't have a soul, and AI is not authentic. Even though if you put authentic voice, it's not your heart. It's not your soul, but it gives you place to start. All right. Okay. That's step 2. And then step 3 I have here is you've got to be relevant and you've got to get to the point. Really important. People don't have time. We have an attention span today of a gnat. And we used to say that our kids have the attention span of a gnat. Well, I hate to say this, but adults now have an attention span like a gnat. And so we want to be relevant. We've got to, as we know, we have to captivate them, and we've got to get to the point. So we have to tell them how we can help them right off the bat. And we need to be clear. And we also need to tell them, why should they buy from you? Why should they buy this product from you and not somebody else? Why should they buy this service from you and not somebody else? Why should they even buy this book from you instead of another book on the same topic? Because every book has, let's take finance, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of books, healing, hundreds, thousands of books, law, I mean, on and on and on, right? So why should they buy from you? And then there's the full circle. So it goes from knowing your brand, and I would suggest re-watching this and listening and really maybe turn it off, pause it and figure all that stuff out. And then the next piece and the next piece. So you've got your brand. From your brand comes your marketing messaging. Without the brand, you're having an uphill battle. When you start with your brand doing marketing messaging, it becomes the next natural thing. And so this is step 1. So we're going to do messaging. Okay. You're going to craft your message. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And now you have a powerful message that goes back to your brand. Okay? All right, everyone. If you like what you hear, then please hit subscribe. I really would appreciate that. And I will be back every Tuesday, Ruth on Demand. If there is something special that you would like me to talk about, or do training on rather, then just shoot me an email or put it in the chat. And then I will start to circulate that. I have a lot of people who have shared with me what they want to see in the training. And one of the things that they wanted me to do for the training was today's messaging, because that is so important. All right. Until next time.